2.4. This is going to be the feedback for the recent research that we've done through your basketball skills. So firstly, if you look at these graphs, you can see that there's a correlation graph showing the difference between height and the offensive rebounds within the group. As you can see, there is a slight positive correlation between height and offensive rebounds made, although when this is done through a significance test, there's shown that there was no statistically significant relationship between the two. This is also the same for when comparing offensive and defensive rebounds. As you can see, there's no correlation within the P and R values. On this next slide, we can see that this is your data, looking at your 2-point percentage of success and unsuccessful. So out of the 8 shots that you took in the game, you had 2 successful shots, so this could be a skill that we can look to improve as a forward. Comparing it to the perfect model, you can see that for 2-pointers, what he scored in this, he hardly missed any 2 points, and he scored all but 1 out of the 6 that he went for. This is kind of the right statistic to look for in a power forward to be effective. That's why we're using it as the perfect model, so a much stronger and reliable player to perform 2-pointers. Here you can see your performance within layups, so you can see that you missed more layups than that you scored. So from the graph you can see that out of the 3 shots that you took, you missed 2 and scored 1. So this could also be a skill that you would want to develop if you're going to be a forward, as one of your main skills is to shoot. Here you can see the perfect model. So within the game, they definitely, you can see on the pie chart here, you can see that it's clear they scored more than they missed. So out of their 3 attempts, they scored 2 out of the 3. So for your 3 throws, you scored all of the attempted free throws, so that was 2 out of 2. So this is good for you as a forward, and it's a good skill that you can have and then maybe help to use with improving your 2-pointers. The same for the perfect model. In the game, they also took two free throws and successfully scored both of them. So when looking at the technical model, your preparation for getting into the box out and rebound, you can quite clearly see that you need to get lower and have your elbows out. But the good thing about your positioning was that you had good contact and you were watching the position of the ball and where it was going. When executing the box out and rebound, you can see compared to the perfect model, you watch the ball coming off the basket, you have good contact in front of the offending player, and the things that you could work on would be having your hands out ready to catch the ball and jumping up to the ball, as you can see the perfect model doing. For the recovery stage, you pivoted away well and looked for opposition to release the ball back into the game. As you can see, it's quite comparable to the perfect model in that you've got the same kind of pivot and position away like the perfect models do. So here's just an overall of your strengths and weaknesses. So you can see throughout the video you stayed on your toes and you were good at judging where the ball was going. You also detach yourself away from the opposition well when throwing the ball back out to pass to a team member, which was a successful pass. The weaknesses is that you did not start facing the opposition, so you wouldn't know straight away, you only did that after. You didn't jump to meet the ball in the air, so it could give the opportunity for them to grab the ball from you, and you did not remain in contact with the opposition when you went to get the ball, you let them kind of drift off behind you. You also didn't protect the ball when you had it, you just kind of held it out in front of your chest. So the next bit that we're going to look at is the kind of group data. So this slide shows the correlation between the height of performance and their jump height and the vertical jump. As you can see, the scatter graph shows a positive correlation, and the R value is also positive as it's 0.45. So this shows it's a weak or a medium positive correlation. This also has a p-value of 0.039, so this shows it's statistically significant as it's smaller than 0.05, and anything above that could be seen as luck. So the p-value is showing that there's the difference in them. Another group data graph that we have prepared is this one, showing the correlation between mass of the performance and their jump height. As you can see, the scatter graph also shows a positive correlation here, so the R value is 0.7, so this shows that it's a very strong positive correlation as it's closest to +1 rather than -1. It also has a p-value of 0.001, so this shows that it's very statistically significant as well as it's smaller than 0.05. So it's showing that it's down to the actual facts rather than it being luck or just kind of skewed data taken on the day. From these two velocity time graphs, you can see the perfect model and your performing model when doing the jump on the force plate. So the perfect model velocity shows here the velocity increasing dramatically at the preparation stage of the takeoff. It then drops quickly as they're in the air, and then once landed the velocity goes back to 0 and remains kind of around 0. And then, as you can see, for your one, you have the same increase and decrease during the preparation for the jump and the actual jump in the air. However, when you land, compared to the perfect model, it drops back to 0 immediately, whereas the performance velocity continues to drift in and out and increases and decreases around until it dramatically drops to 0, and then the velocity continues at 0. So this shows that they might have been a bit unstable when landing the jump. So this is just the group data that was taken from the force plate, and then this is the perfect model, all of their data. So it's showing the angles at the knee, which was taken with a gynecomastia, and then the kind of their height and mass. So then comparing that to your own, you can see that you are having a lot smaller angles, which could have affected how powerful you can create the jump. So the first strategy I think we're going to do is to improve your defensive rebounds. So the target I'm going to give you is to do at least 6 defensive rebounds within the next 3 games that you play. In order to do this, you'll need to be 100% sure on how to do a defensive rebound. Therefore, we'll need to practice the drill, so we can plan to do a one-on-one rebounding, which would be appropriate drill in order for you to practice it. The second strategy would be to improve your layups. So the target that I'm going to give you is to increase layups by 6 within your next 3 games. In order to do this, we'll also need to make sure that you know how to do it correctly and effectively. So I could recommend this drill that we could do together, which would be in 3 stages to help you break it down and make sure you can get it as good as possible. So the first step would be just a 1-step layup focusing on your footwork, and then it would progress to as well as a 1-step layup but working on releasing the ball, and then the third step would be adding a dribble into the layup. The third strategy is going to be improving your power. So the target I'm going to give you is to improve your power by at least 30% more than usual, but at least at least in 3 weeks' time. In order to do this, we will need to do plyometric training to improve power, as this will mean the jump will become higher and faster, and therefore improving your jump height. In order to improve power in the legs, the drill that we could use would be doing a circuit of squats as part of the training, as this will be focusing on the hamstrings and quadriceps and gluteus, and then by increasing the muscle mass here, it then allows to create more power from the legs when jumping. As well as squats, we could be doing other things like leg presses, just to mix up the circuits by using different activities.